You are listening to Radio Udaan, Radio Udaan, Radio Udaan, a flight of life. For more information, log on to www.radioudaan.com. Happy listening.
Hello दोस्तों, are you looking for positivity and enthusiasm in life? Then don't worry. This brand new show called Inspirational Wings is just for you. So guys, to enjoy this beautiful ride with you on RJ Divya, don't forget to tune us every Thursday 9 to 10 only on Radio Udaan.
आप सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स आरजे दिव्या के साथ।
गुड इवनिंग, नमस्ते एंड सत श्री अकाल। मैं हूँ आपकी होस्ट एंड दोस्त आरजे दिव्या और आप सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स ओनली ऑन रेडियो उड़ान। दोस्तों, मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप सभी बिल्कुल बढ़िया होंगे और अगर आप बढ़िया नहीं हैं या लो फील कर रहे हैं तो डोंट वरी। This inspirational ride is just to make you up. So, let us begin this inspirational ride and step in our very first segment. In our very first segment, we are going to talk about a story. And today, the title of our first story is Awakening. Awakening. A sage presented a prince with a set of 3 small dolls. The prince was not amused. Am I a girl that you give me dolls? He asked. This is a gift for future king, said the sage. If you look carefully, you will see a hole in the ear of each doll. The sage handed him a piece of string. Pass it through each doll, he said. Intrigued, the prince picked up the first doll and put the string into its ear. It came out from the other ear. The string came out from the other ear. This is the one type of person, said the sage. Whatever you tell him comes out from the other ear. He doesn't retain anything. The prince put the string into the second doll. It came out from the mouth. This is the second type of person, said the sage. Whatever you tell him, he tells everybody else. Now, the prince picked up the third doll and repeated the same process. The string did not come out. This is the third type of person, said the sage. Whatever you tell him, is locked up within him. It never comes out. What is the best type of person? Asked the prince. The sage handed him a fourth doll in answer. When the prince put the string into the doll, it came out from the other ear. Do it again, said the sage. The prince repeated the same process. This time the string came out from the mouth. When he put the string in a third time, it did not come out at all. This is the best type of person, said the sage. To be trustworthy, a man must know when to listen, when to remain silent, and when to speak out. So, the moral of this story is, to be a trustworthy person, try to know when to speak, when to listen, when to remain silent. तो दोस्तों, दिस वॉज द स्टोरी टाइटल्ड अवेकनिंग, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि हम सभी ही अवेक हुए होंगे। तो चलिए इस अवेकनिंग नोट पे बढ़ते हैं आगे और चलते हैं सेकंड सेगमेंट की ओर। बट बिफोर दैट, लेट अस टेक अ क्विक म्यूजिकल ब्रेक। मिलती हूँ मैं आपको इस म्यूजिकल ब्रेक के उस पार। कीप लिसनिंग एंड कीप मोटिवेटिंग। मैं हूँ आपकी होस्ट एंड दोस्त आरजे दिव्या।
तेरी यादें, मुलाकातें, मैं कैसे भूलूं चाहत की वो बरसातें। तेरी यादें, मुलाकातें, मैं कैसे भूलूं चाहत की वो बरसातें। तू ही मेरा दिल है, तू ही मेरी जान, तू ही मेरा दिल है, तू ही मेरी जान। कभी तो पास मेरे आओ, कभी तो नजरें मुझसे मिलाओ, कभी तो दिल से दिल को मिलाओ। हो जाना मेरी जान, पल के यूं न झुकाना, मेरी जान मुझसे दूर न जाना, मेरी जान मुझको भूल न जाना। हो जाना मुझे लौटा दे वो मेरा प्यार, मुझे लौटा
Are you in a confusion to purchase new gadget for you? Or do you want to become gadget guru? No worries. You can get all the information related to technology and lots more. मैं हूं ना, with me RJ Abdul Razak. Every Monday 10 PM to 11 PM. Only on Radio Udaan. Please log into www.radioudaan.com.
आप सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स आरजे दिव्या के साथ।
तो दोस्तों, now we have reached our second segment, and in this segment, हमेशा की तरह let us talk about another story. The title for our this story is The Two Hospital Patients. The Two Hospital Patients. Two men, both seriously ill, occupied the same hospital room. One man was allowed to sit up in his bed for an hour each afternoon to help drain the fluid from his lungs. His bed was next to the room's only window. The other man had to spend all his time flat on his back. The men talked for hours on end. They spoke of their wives and families, their homes, their jobs, their involvement in the military service where they had been on holiday. And every afternoon, when the man in the bed by the window could sit up, he would pass the time by describing to his roommate all the things he could see outside the window. The man in the other bed began to live for 1 hour time, where his world would be broadened and enlivened by all the activity and color of the world outside. The window overlooked a park with a lovely lake. Ducks played on the water while children sailed their model boats. Young lovers walked arm in arm amidst flowers of every color of the rainbow. Grand old trees graced the landscape, and a fine view of the city skyline could be seen in the distance. As the man by the window described all this in exquisite detail, the man on the other side of the room would close his eyes and imagine the picturesque scene. One warm afternoon, the man by the window described a parade passing by. Although the other man couldn't hear the band, he could see it in his mind's eye as the gentleman by the window portrayed it with descriptive words. In this way, days and weeks passed. One morning, the day nurse arrived to bring water for the baths, only to find the lifeless body of the man by the window who had died peacefully in his sleep. She was saddened and called the hospital attendants to take the body away. As soon as it seemed appropriate, the other man asked if he could be moved next to the window. The nurse was happy to make the switch, and after making sure he was comfortable, she left him alone. Slowly, painfully, he propped himself up on one elbow to take his first look at the window world outside. Finally, he would have the joy of seeing it for himself. He strained to slowly turn to look out the window beside the bed. It faced a blank wall. जी हाँ, it faced a blank wall. The man asked the nurse what could have compelled his diseased roommate who had described such wonderful things outside this window. The nurse responded that the man was blind and could not even see the wall. She said, perhaps he just wanted to encourage you. तो दोस्तों, this was the story, the two hospital patients. And the moral we derive from this story is that always appreciate the ones who care for you and who take pain to make you happy. Because you never know what the real story is behind their smile. Keep inspiring and keep motivating. मिलती हूँ मैं आपको इस म्यूजिकल ब्रेक के उस पर.
बक 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 करती रहती है.
जला सा है, पागला सा है, सपने बस बुनता रहता है.
जरा 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 टेढ़ी मेढ़ी फिर भी वो प्यारी है. दिल तो गया कह के सॉरी है. Well, all I can say is hey. जाने ये क्या हो गया है. तुमसे प्यार हो गया। सोचा था जैसा हाँ वैसी की वैसी तो तू नहीं, फिर भी क्यों दिल बोले अब हमको रहना है बस यही।
मांगा था जिसको वो सब करा जाता भी नहीं, फिर भी दिल डरता है मैं ना तुझे खो दूं कहीं।
कभी 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 सोचूं बोलूं मुसीबत मोल ली, all I can say is hey, 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 जाने जाने क्या हो गया है। I'm sorry but तुमसे प्यार हो गया। प्यारी है तुझसे झगड़ने में लड़ने में भी खुमारी है। हमको तो तेरे संग रहने की एक बीमारी है, तू जो नहीं साथ लम्हा लम्हा कटना भारी है। धीरे 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 हल्के हल्के कदमों से आ गई, यादों के ख्वाबों पे सब छा गई। All I can say is hey, 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 जाने जाने ये क्या हो गया है। I'm sorry but तुमसे प्यार हो गया है। तुमसे प्यार हो गया है।
हमारे ऐतिहासिक धरोहर।
ये जगह ताजमहल के बीचों बीच एकदम केंद्र में है। यही सोई है वो। ये कब्र है मुमताज महल की और बगल वाली कब्र है उनके बेहद प्यार करने वाले शौहर शाहजहां की।
हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत। हमारे पर्यटन एवं धार्मिक स्थल।
संपूर्ण पृथ्वी लोक में सर्वश्रेष्ठ स्थान है भारत, और भारत में सर्वश्रेष्ठ स्थान है श्री बद्री धाम, जहां पर स्वयं श्री नारायण हर पल हर घड़ी विराजमान रहते हैं।
जानना चाहते हैं इन सब के बारे में? जी हाँ दोस्तों, जुड़ जाइए मेरे यानी गीता सुमन के साथ शो भारत दर्शन में हर शुक्रवार शाम 7 से 8 सिर्फ और सिर्फ रेडियो उड़ान पर। और मेरे साथ कीजिए संपूर्ण भारत की यात्रा भारत दर्शन में और जानिए अपनी धरोहर, अपनी विरासत, अपने पर्यटन एवं धार्मिक स्थल को सिर्फ और सिर्फ रेडियो उड़ान पर। आप सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स आरजे दिव्या के साथ।
दोस्तों, अब बारी आती है मोटिवेशन, इंस्पिरेशन, करेज एंड डिटर्मिनेशन। जी हाँ, बिल्कुल सही समझे आप। मैं बात कर रही हूँ एक इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी की। Today we are going to talk about an inspirational story of Ralph Brown, CEO of Brown Ability. Raised in a small town in Indiana with muscular dystrophy, Mr. Brown refused to let a physical disability hold him back. As a young man who needed to get to work, he was determined to find a way to get there on his own terms. Today, Ralph Brown is the CEO of Brown Ability, the largest manufacturers of wheelchair accessible vans in the world and an icon in the mobility industry. His tireless efforts have brought independence to millions of other people faced with the same need for personal use accessible transportation. And now you can add author to his long list of achievements. Rise Above tells the story of how self-reliance, common sense, and a refusal to accept the status quo transformed his need for mobility into a successful multi-million-dollar company. In this inspiring book that exemplifies the American spirit, Ralph takes you back to his younger days and the challenges he faced. With his no limits attitude and passion, it is an example of entrepreneurial encouragement for others to follow. Ralph Brown started Brown Ability by welding pieces of metal together in his parents' garage. Now, let us talk little more about Brown's background. Ralph was diagnosed with spinal muscle atrophy as a young child. By age 15, he was unable to walk and relied on the solitary mate, Iron Monster, wheelchair of the day. But the heavy contraption left him exhausted at the end of the day. You are dead when you hit the chair for good, he remembers thinking at the time, according to his brief biography on the Brown Corporation website. His Midwestern background prevented any self-pity. However, between Ralph's determination to remain as mobile as possible and his ability in the disciplines of engineering and technology, the young man was soon tinkering in a cousin's farm shed in search of a better solution. Now let us talk about tri-wheeler. Ralph's tinkering soon resulted in the development of a device he called the tri-wheeler. It afforded him the ability he desired, both at home and at his job, where he worked as a clerk at a nearby hospital. The device was so stable and reliable that he used it to commute to and from work regardless of the weather. News of Brown's tri-wheeler began to spread by word of mouth throughout the disabled community, and other wheelchair-bound people began to ask to purchase replicas of his model. He soon began manufacturing tri-wheelers in his parents' garage under the name Safe a Step Manufacturing. Now let us talk about more adaptations. As documented by his biography, Brown never shied away from hard work. He continued to work for an outside employer and at his fledgling company, Save a Step Manufacturing, commuting between both jobs on his tri-wheeler. When his employer moved to a new location miles away, he was forced to reconsider his commute, particularly through the tough Midwest winters. Again, he turned to developing a new solution towards the problem of transporting wheelchair-bound individuals. Is a vehicle without requiring assistance. For his immediate needs, he adapted a used postal jeep with the first known wheelchair lift. Later, his company produced specially modified handicapped vans with the now patented swing away wheelchair lifts. तो आगे बढ़ते हैं और बात करते हैं ब्राउन की, बट एक छोटे से म्यूजिकल ब्रेक के उस पर। तो मिलती हूँ मैं आपको इस म्यूजिकल ब्रेक के बिल्कुल उस पर, और आप यहीं रहिएगा और जानते हैं आगे और महत्वपूर्ण चीजें इस इंस्पिरेशनल पर्सनैलिटी के बारे में। द सीईओ ऑफ ब्राउन एबिलिटी, रैल्फ ब्राउन।
heard you good with them soft lips. Yeah, you know word of mouth. The square root of 69 is 8 something, right? Cause I've been trying to work it out. Good white wine. I come alive in the nighttime. Yeah, okay, away we go. Only thing we have on is the radio. Oh, let it play. Say you gotta leave, but I know you wanna stay. You just waiting on the traffic jam to finish, girl. The things that we can do in 20 minutes, girl. Say my name, wear it out. It's getting hot, crack a window, air it out. I can get you through a mighty long day. Soon as you go, the text that I write is gonna say, oh, nah, nah, what's my name? Oh, nah, nah, what's my name? Oh, nah, nah, what's my name? What's my name? What's my name? Not everybody knows how to work my body, knows how to make me want it. But boy, you stay up on it. You got this something that keeps me so balanced. Baby, you're a challenge. Let's explore your talent. Hey boy, I really wanna see if you can go downtown with a girl like me. Hey boy, I really wanna be with you, cause you're just my type. Oh na 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 na, I need a boy to take it over. Looking for a guy to put in work up. Oh 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 oh. Hey boy, I really wanna see if you can go downtown with a girl like me. Hey boy, I really wanna be with you, cause you're just my type. Oh na 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 na, I need a boy to take it over. Looking for a guy to put in work up. Oh 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 oh. Oh na na, what's my name? Oh na na, what's my name? Oh na na, what's my name? What's my name? What's my name? You got me, and ain't nowhere that I'd be than with your arms around me. Back and forth, you rock me, yeah. So I surrender to every word you whisper, every door you enter. I will let you in. Hey boy, I really wanna see if you can go downtown with a girl like me. Hey boy, I really wanna be with you, cause you're just my type. Oh na 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 na, I need a boy to take it over. Looking for a guy to put in work up. Oh 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 oh. You're so amazing, you took the time to figure me out. That's why you take me way past the point of turning me on. You about to break me, I swear you got me losing my mind. Oh na na, what's my name? 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 What's my name? What's my name? Hey boy, I really wanna see if you can go downtown with a girl like me. Hey boy, I really wanna be with you, cause you're just my type. Oh na 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 na, I need a boy to take it over. Looking for a guy to put in work up. Oh 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 oh. Hey boy, I really wanna see if you can go downtown with a girl like me. Hey boy, I really wanna be with you, cause you're just my type. Oh na 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 na, I need a boy to take it over. Looking for a guy to put in work up. Oh oh oh
हेलो फरमाइश, जिसे लेकर आए हैं हम आरजे विनोद, आपके पसंदीदा रेडियो उड़ान पर।
इस प्रोग्राम में अपनी फरमाइश का गीत सुनने के लिए अपने नाम के साथ गीत का नाम हमें मेल करें vinodgupta146@gmail.com।
तो सुनना ना भूले, हर मंगलवार शाम 7 से 8, पुनः प्रसारण हर बुधवार दोपहर 2 से 3। हेलो फरमाइश फरमाइश फरमाइश।
सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स आरजे दिव्या के साथ।
तो दोस्तों, पिछले सेगमेंट में हम बात कर रहे थे द इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी ऑफ रैल्फ ब्राउन। तो बढ़ाते हैं इस स्टोरी को आगे इस सेगमेंट में। द ब्राउन कॉर्पोरेशन। By the early 1970s, even Ralph Brown was torn between the demands of his regular employment, safe a step manufacturing, and raising a family. He left his outside employer to devote himself full-time to his business, now called the Brown Corporation. The business has continued to grow by leaps and bounds and came to concentrate on the many aspects of van modifications, minivan modifications and wheelchair lifts. Ralph Brown continues to lead his company with the same goal that sent him into his cousin's shed, ensuring mobility for the physically challenged. अब थोड़ी बात हो जाए व्हाइट हाउस ऑनर्स की। On May 9, 2011, Ralph Brown was honored by the White House as one of 14 citizens named a champion of change for his work with individuals with disabilities. The champions of change were honored specifically for their work in what is known as the STEM disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to level the playing field for the disabled people. Some champion of change recipients are themselves disabled, yet they strive to make enormous contributions to the lives of all citizens. तो दोस्तों, ये थी इंस्पायर कर देने वाली स्टोरी सीईओ ऑफ ब्राउन एबिलिटी रैल्फ ब्राउन. He was not only suffering from a disability, but he just changed his disability into ability and became a very successful entrepreneur. He tried his best and strived all his life to make accessible equipments for the fellow citizens. To end up this segment, I just want to say that this was an extremely inspiring story of Ralph Brown. Now let us take a musical break and we'll meet you after this break in the last segment. Stay tuned and keep listening.
हाय गाउन दा मौका होवे खान दा मौका होवे कोई मर्जी आ फिर कोई चौका होवे पेड़ दी कैपेसिटी लार्ज रहंदी है बहादुर, करते हैं सबका आदर। ओ हम हैं शेर बहादुर, करते हैं सबका आदर। जगदे सबके फटे सुप्रीम साडे फादर, बेबे साडे घर दी इंचार्ज रहिंदी है। पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है। 24 घंटे हो 24 घंटे, 24 घंटे हो 24 घंटे। अंग्रेजी दारू ताजी सानू चढ़दे ने, ते साडी स्पोर्ट्स रखदी रेड लाइट ते भी करदे ने। कोई गाने बाजी रखदे ने, 60 अपने देनी नाच बड़ा एक होर पिलाओ पीओ तकदे ने। साडी रवे चढ़ाई एनर्जी साडी होई, साडी रवे चढ़ाई एनर्जी साडी होई। जड़ विच साडी यारो रहिंदी आ दुध मलाई, तुम भी साडी पार्टी दा साज रहिंदी है। पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है। 24 घंटे मुंडियों ते कुड़ियों, पंजाबी बोले अगर बोल के रावे बोले है। Girl, I got what you need, दारू और देसी फीम, जल्दी से बोलो यारो आज रात का क्या है सीन। पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है, पंजाबियां दी बैटरी चार्ज रहिंदी है। 24 घंटे हो 24 घंटे, 24 घंटे हो 24 घंटे, 24 घंटे।
क्यों छोड़ा आशा भोसले ने ओपनर का साथ? किस बात पर मारा अनिल विश्वास ने मुकेश को थप्पड़? और किस बात पर लता मंगेशकर ने कहा मदन मोहन को अपना भाई?
अजीब दास्तां है
जी हाँ दोस्तों, हर मंगलवार रात 10 से लेकर 11 बजे तक मैं आज अपनी सोनी आऊंगा आपके लिए एक ऐसा शो लेकर जिसमें होंगी बॉलीवुड से जुड़ी कहानियां, किस्से और उनसे जुड़े कुछ सदाबहार और भुले बिसरे तराने। तो सुनते रहिए शो आपका अपना यादें कही अनकही, रेडियो उड़ान पर।
ये है कौन सी न वो समझ सकी न हम।
आप सुन रहे हैं इंस्पिरेशनल विंग्स आरजे दिव्या के साथ।
Now friends, we have reached the last segment of this episode of Inspirational Wings. Like always, let us talk about what we have learned today. Today in our very first segment, we talked about a story. The title of the story was Awakening. Awakening. In our second segment, we talked about another story. The title was The Two Hospital Patients. The Two Hospital Patients. In our third segment, we talked about motivation, courage, determination and inspiration. जी हाँ, you got it right. We talked about an inspirational story. And today we talked about the inspirational story of Ralph Brown, CEO of brown ability. In our fourth segment, we resumed the same inspirational story of CEO of Brown Ability, Ralph Brown. तो इस तरह हमारा आज का ये एपिसोड खत्म होने पे आता है. Before I wind up this episode, let me give you the details of how you can leave your feedbacks. If you have liked our show, then don't forget to leave your feedbacks, views, ideas. For this, you have to visit our website, that is www.radioudaan.com. You can also add us. Our Skype ID is Radio Udaan. And if you are a Facebook user, our URL is www.facebook.com/Radio Udaan. तो हमेशा की तरह try to share this information with your friends, relatives and colleagues. मिलूंगी मैं आपको the same day Thursday from 9 to 10 next week. Till then, take care of yourselves and keep motivating. Stay tuned to Radio Udaan because coming up next is RJ Jyoti with the show Date with State. A very interesting and innovative, informative show. तो अब मैं आपकी होस्ट एंड दोस्त आरजे दिव्या लेती हूँ इजाजत. बट बिफोर दैट लेट मी डेडिकेट यू दिस ब्यूटीफुल song. Take care of yourselves and good luck.
मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर लिए जा. ये शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर लिए जा. प्यास आती नहीं, ऐसा लगे जैसे कि तू हंस के जहर कोई पिए जाए. शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर लिए जा. देती है क्यों तेरी हया, तेरी शर्म, तेरी कसम मेरे होठ सिए जाए. शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर लिए जा। तकदीर जैसे कोई खामोश ऐसे है तू, तस्वीर जैसे कोई तेरी नजर बन के जुबान, लेकिन तेरे पैगाम दिए जाए। शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर दिए जाए। ये शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जाए, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे